I remember when I first started this, I was, an unknown guy. And I liked being underneath the radar. But it's just kind of like not with the territory nowadays. Like when you have, somewhat of a little bit of a name and, you're coming up in this sport, there's really is no hiding underneath a rock anymore with the things that we have to do as far as social media. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you keep it to yourself or announce it. It's like, what I mean? Like it's going to be what it's going to be. So yeah,
Yeah.
Detroit Pro exclusive here on the
I'll,
Beautiful Struggle
I will take
podcast.
that all day long. Thank you. So Fuad, if you're watching this and listening to this, it's on you first. So now you got to get on the
Yeah.
podcast. What is going on, people? Jumping into this podcast to let you know about our incredible sponsors, Trained by JP, aka TBJP, the one-stop shop for all your bodybuilding needs. Whether you're looking for supplements or clothing, they have it all. Quite possibly the biggest range of subs you will find anywhere in the world, end of. Whether you're looking for pre-workouts, stim-free or high-stim, intra-workout shakes, post-workout cream of rices, vegan supplements, it is all there for you, as well as the highest grade of health subs that you will need in your arsenal. Check them out. It's www.tb-jp.com, and on there you will also find all the clothing which they release multiple times per year, but get your hands on them quick because they are limited drops. Use the discount code MAGIC10 for money off. Help the brother out, and let's get back to the podcast. Peace. Right, guys, welcome back to the Beautiful Struggle podcast with myself, Jay Davis, aka Magic Eye. I am back on the content train, back from holidays, fully rested, fully recharged, and we have another fresh podcast. Apologies for uploading old podcasts, but I'm transferring them onto my personal channel. I have explained this a number of times, but we've got a brand new one that I'm very excited about, both on a personal level and just as a fan of bodybuilding in general. I would say this guy has got the wow factor. I think, when people earn pro cards these days, there's a lot of people kind of winning them and they're not ready for the pro ranks. They're not ready for the pro leagues. But I think we'd all agree, if you know this guy, or I'm sure you will know him soon, you will agree that he has definitely got what it takes to stand on a pro stage. He's got the shape, the structure, and most definitely the freakiness to stand next to the best of them. So introducing Mr. Carlos Thomas Jr. to the podcast.
Wow, Jay, that was an amazing introduction, dude. I really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, bro.
Oof,
My pleasure,
man,
bro.
dude, it's it's kind of like surreal still doing podcasts and interviews and everything. It never gets old. It's always amazing to me. I
Yeah.
always have a good time doing them. And it's always just an honor to be honest with you, man. So, like I said earlier, dude, I really appreciate have me on because obviously I follow like your prep and everything, and I follow how the content that you make with others and the brand that you've created, and it's just a really special thing you got going on over there, and you bring in light to a lot of people with the podcast now, and it's an amazing one. So, dude, man, I'm just really excited to be on, man.
Thank you, bro.
uh, it mentioned me as like like I still don't see myself as like a freak or mass monster or anything like that. So
It comes with
it's
the
crazy.
territory, I think, with bodybuilding.
Yeah.
We don't realize what we got going on. I mean, you definitely got a lot going on, bro. So I
Yeah.
think
So it's always funny to hear that though. But thank you.
yeah, I mean, it's good that you're saying that it never gets old, because I think that's what's going to continue to push you to be at the top of the game, those that kind of get high off their own supply,
Mm,
with what they got going on, uh, they can come back down to ground crashing. So it's good that you've got that. And obviously from, me watching your content and seeing you on other podcasts, I can see that you are like just a humble, genuine guy. And I know when people
thank you.
say that to someone, they probably don't like to kind of comment on that, like, oh, I'm humble, I'm genuine, but you do come across as that. So I think that's going to take you far in the game, man. Really do.
Thank you very much, brother. Yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of like you say, you don't want to you don't want to get high off your own supply, man. You don't want to be feeling yourself too much.
Yeah.
But I'm always grateful when people are able to see my attitude, my demeanor, and it comes across in a positive manner. So I'm glad that that's
Yeah.
being seen and people are grasping that.
Yeah. It's great, man. With the podcast, is this the first UK one that you've done?
Yeah. So I'm so excited.
There we go.
I've never done a UK podcast besides muscle. I'll say, besides like muscular development, the one that Giles had.
Oh
But I said
yeah.
like yeah, I'd say like that was more of like a conglomerate type of like muscular development. But this,
Yeah.
as far as like you and a singular person doing their own branding, this is like the first podcast I've had. So yeah, it was Global Muscle. That's what it was with
Global
Giles.
Muscle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as far as like like a guy who's doing his own thing, starting his podcast up, this is the first one. And yeah, man, I'm a big fan of you guys over there. I follow so many guys, man. The things you have going on over there is amazing, and I'm a little jealous because I wish we had that culture and that atmosphere here. You guys have some crazy, athletes over there, from the natural competitors like AJ Morris. I follow him a lot.
Shout out to
Your
AJ.
Kuba.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have so many good people over there, and man, it really motivates me. This like, oh man, like people halfway across the world are just living this lifestyle and they love it, and because I have the same passion, and we have it here, but it just feels a little different over there.
In what way? What when you say it's different? In what way would you say, like from where you're at, and obviously the people that,
Mhm.
not that you surround yourself with, because I'm sure you surround yourself with people that you're like, or you want to be like, or you're taking something from them, but maybe the wider population, the wider group of like community. What's it like where you are?
Um, it's it's bodybuilding, but I would say, of course, like you have your hubs. You have the Texas, you have the Florida, the Vegas. Some people sporadically are still in California, um, and New York is kind of where I'm originally from, the Delaware, Philadelphia area. New York used to be very big. You had your Victor Martinez, you had your John De La Rosas, guys coming out of there. But I feel like it's a bit more. It's just a bit different with like that, like that grit you guys have. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we got it over here, but it's just different. When you see people work and they live the lifestyle, from A to Z. The details, everything is like just accounted for. Man, it's you see the passion and you feel the passion
Yeah.
through the videos. Like that's why I loved your prep series, because I was like, you're going your daily routine, ticking all your boxes, like you're working. It's really cool to see people do that. And maybe it's just because I'm here and I'm like, man, like it's a different, it's a novelty seeing like someone across the world do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think it's a culture thing too. I think the guys over there and the gals, just like, man, it's like this attitude when they get to the gym, they just love it.
Mm.
It's heavy weight. It's focused. It's all in. There's nothing left. They empty the tank, and that like motivates me, man. Like it's something special over there, and I got to get over there to get a little bit to bring it back,
I was just about to say,
because it's something.
have you ever been to the UK? You're not been yet.
I haven't been to the UK yet. That's a plan, man. I got to do, and get over there. I follow so many of you guys, and it's just amazing the things that has been built over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got to get over there, man. That's definitely on the bucket list, to make it happen. But yeah, I love the things you have guys over there. So yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
everybody over in the UK.
Look at that. Carlos Thomas Jr. shouting the UK out. So take note, everyone. But be sure, if you do get over here, bro, we got to hook up and I'll film some sessions or whatever for you if you get over here. That's a
100%,
must.
100%.
That's a must. So let's dive into it then in terms of the podcast. So whereabouts are you now in terms of your off season right now? I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So right now we're ticking down, time's ticking down, ticking away at the off season. About 5 weeks left, 5.5 weeks left right now. We're going to be starting prep after the Olympia, and shooting for an early show,
Yeah.
just to make sure that like I have enough time to take a little bit of, like put, back off the gas pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because the way my body is, if I push and redline it so hard with like cardio, low food, it'll have tons of negative feedback. And
Yeah.
if we're left with a little bit of time, that doesn't give us time to recuperate. So start around 20 to 24 weeks out, and it's going to be a good one. We're going to aim it for the first show of the year after the Arnold, which would be the Detroit Pro,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Sick. Is that an exclusive about the Detroit Pro? Have you put that out there yet, or is that?
No, I haven't put it out there yet, man.
So we've
I
got the
have not put it out
exclusive.
there. Yes, sir. It's like, I remember when I first started this, I was, an unknown guy, and I liked being underneath the radar. But it's just kind of like not with the territory nowadays. Like when you have, somewhat of a little bit of a name, and you're coming up in this sport, there's really is no hiding underneath a rock anymore with the things that we have to do as far as social media. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you keep it to yourself or announce it. It's like, what I mean? Like it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So yeah,
Yeah.
Detroit Pro exclusive here on the
I'll
Beautiful Struggle
I will take
podcast.
that all day long. Thank you. So Fuad, if you're watching this and listening to this, it's on you first. So now you got to get on the
Yeah,
podcast because me and Fuad have been going back and forth, but we just can't align our
yeah,
diary. So there we go. There's a reason for him to come
yeah.
on. But that's sick, mate. So Detroit Pro, that's going to be, I'm pretty sure that is 2 weeks after the UK Arnold, I think, maybe, or after.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because or is it before? I'm not sure if they've actually released the UK Arnold date yet, because
Uh,
if you,
last year it was afterwards. So
okay,
I
because
would I was I would expect it would be afterwards because the Arnold is the first weekend in March,
yeah,
and then the Detroit is at the end of March. So I
right,
suspect it'll
yeah,
probably be in the middle somewhere there.
probably in the middle, yeah. Well, if you're ready early, bro, and you want to come over to the UK, there you go. There's your excuse to get to the Arnold.
Yeah, that would be a good. That would be good. Like I said, that would be probably around like 22 weeks out. I'm giving myself time to see what happens. I haven't really done too much as far as like winning shows or anything, but I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring for some big shows. I want to
Yeah,
check into like the Arnold and the Arnold UK. Those are some things that I always wanted to do since I started the sport.
yeah,
I've gone to the Arnold number of times as a spectator, and competing in that, or going overseas and competing, which is definitely something I want to do. And the UK
yeah.
would be amazing.
Oh.
So yeah, man, like I'm giving myself enough time to see what happens. If things align properly, then I don't see no reason why not.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there about your body kind of shutting down on it if you push it too hard, if you redline it, you said. Obviously, I've
Hmm.
watched your content, so I kind of know what you're dealing with that. You've got the ulcer colitis, is that what it is?
Yes, yeah. So I deal with colitis, and for those who don't know, it's I have left-sided ulcer colitis, so it's like the left side of like my colon intestine ulcers, and I get like flare-ups from it.
Yeah,
It's classified as an autoimmune disorder. My mother has it severely. She struggled with it. So I don't know if there is a genetic component to it, but to see them had it and I have it is something to be said there.
yeah,
Yeah, I've been dealing with that for going on 3 years now, where I got diagnosed back in 2021, before my nationals prep.
right.
And yeah, so it's honestly, it's really just high stress. So again, like high stress in life, obviously you have to deal with that. But the stress of prep is something that we can, try to mitigate to a certain extent. So pushing high cardio, low food, like with the training, with sometimes the things that we take that may affect sleep, stimulants, stuff like that, that can definitely cause like a flare up for me.
Right.
So we're trying some things this time around this prep, where it's like just giving myself a little bit longer time, where if anything does creep up, I have enough time to recuperate, back off a little bit, and then get back to pushing them prep.
Yeah. I've had a client that has dealt with a similar thing recently and that had to pull a prep. Because we discussed it and we was talking about would like shorter prep be better, you know, where you stay in relatively good shape and then you have like a quick 8 to 10 week prep where
That
it's
too.
a closer, you know, the goalposts are closer rather than a long
Mhm.
drawn out prep. So when you said like a 25 week, I think maybe.
Yeah, so it'll be 24 weeks out
Yeah.
of the Detroit that will start pulling things down. Nothing crazy, but that we'll start getting in that mindset. So around a total of 20 weeks is the actual prep. The first 4 weeks is just getting things into the routine, getting the mind
Yeah.
reps. So it's like a little pre-prep phase into the full prep. I know 20 weeks is a little longer than most people prefer. But in hindsight, I've always done 20-week preps, getting ready for my shows.
Yeah.
When I got ready for nationals, that was 20 weeks. When I was getting ready for Texas, that actually turned out to be a very long prep because I dealt with some also issues, which made me pull out of New York Pro. So
Hmm.
that ended up being a longer prep. So I think longer for me work because I have a stubborn body
Okay.
that likes to fight back hard. I'm not a guy who can get in shape within like 8 to 10 weeks. So, but I would say this is the leanest I've been in the offseason. I'm sitting around like 258 right now. And this is the leanest I've been.
Mm.
So, if we are early, then that's great. Then to me, it's like we have time to play with some things and like slow things down where I don't have to crash land into show, which has always been the case for me. I've never really had a smooth prep where I can
Yeah.
coast into a show. It's always running towards the finish line. So, fingers crossed this is a one where it's relatively smooth, where things are more predictable. But I'm controlling all the variables for that though. So
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said,
yeah.
it's nothing you haven't been through before, so you're aware of what may happen, and you probably know the signs as soon as they kind of start happening, which touch wood they don't, but at least
Mhm.
you've been there, so you kind of know the strategy. Did you discuss maybe doing like a shorter prep, like I said, like to get to the show, or has it always been a longer?
Yeah. Yeah. It was always discussed to be a longer prep.
Mhm.
A The shorter prep, honestly, mentally, uh, it would probably put me underneath a more mental stress
Yeah,
than
okay.
a longer one. If I have a longer prep, I know mentally, I'm giving myself the time to do the things I need to do. But if it's short, I feel like I would just kind of like just stress about it a lot. Like, do we have enough time? Are things going to go right?
Yeah.
I am leaning towards more of a personality that's more anxious,
Right.
a bit more than most people probably. So if I give myself that time, I don't live in the future of like,
Yeah.
oh man, 8, 10,
Yeah.
10, 10, 12 weeks. I'm like, that'll go by so fast. I'll
Yeah.
start doing like math. I'm like, that's so quick, that's so fast. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I only have this many sessions, this, and that. So if I
Yeah.
give myself that time, it'll give me that mental reprieve of not having to stress about, well, the show's in 12 weeks. We gotta miss. Which same thing happens with the 20 week or 16, 20 week prep. I think the stress myself internally would be there, just because I know myself, I know my mental state.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's. I was talking to Stuart Sutherland and beef stew, and he did a longer prep this time around where he was ready, getting ready for like New York. He was ready so soon.
Yeah.
He
So
couldn't. His body couldn't hold. His body couldn't hold it for that long. So that speaks to the testament of a body. I think I don't go flat easy. I have round muscle
I can
bellies,
imagine,
and
bro. I've seen it.
so yeah, it's and I think I can just like hold on with a more steady prep, a little bit longer prep than most people. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be cool, man. So are you planning to document the whole prep on like YouTube and things like that as well?
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do probably around like 2 videos a month. I've got to get more into that. Just been figuring out my schedule and working with videographers.
Yeah,
Just trying to figure out if like what's a good fit for me. Because I feel like you have to gel with the person too. You're
definitely,
kind of
man.
letting them in. You're letting them into your life, and you're letting them into your homes
Yeah.
sometimes. So that's always a big thing for me.
They need to obviously being a videographer, they need to understand what bodybuilding is as well, because the last thing you need is a video guy that doesn't really know what's going on when you're the back end of prep, when you're a little bit quiet, you maybe not talking as much, and they're probably going to start thinking that they've pissed you off for some reason, but it's just prep. I've been there.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. So with you turned pro, was it 2022?
2021 nationals, NPC nationals.
NPC nationals, okay. So 2021. And then how many shows did you do leading up to that to turn pro? Did you do many?
So I started bodybuilding in 2014. I did 3 shows, like one after the other, and then I took some years off and did a NPC nationals in 2017, where I competed as a middleweight. I got top 5 there, and then I took some more time off, just working, life stuff,
Mhm.
just doing what you got to do outside of the gym.
The boring
And
stuff.
then, yeah, right, like, yes, you gotta work a job and things like that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
but so outside of bodybuilding, I was still like lifting and things like that, and still progressing. So by the time I came back in 2021, and I attempted a few preps. I attempted one in 2020, but the whole COVID thing just threw everything off.
Yeah.
Maybe I could say that. You can bleep that out, C word or whatever people
Sorry,
go.
man. Don't worry about it.
So that just messed up everything in 2020. But
Yeah.
it all happened for good reasons, because 2021 I was able to put on a little bit more size and make more improvements. And then I did one qualifier show, and then I went into the national show where I won the overall. Some really good guys in that show. We had Justin Shire.
Yeah.
We had Nate Spear, who was there. Yeah, we've had some good guys there. We had Jordan Janowitz, 212 pro now.
Yeah.
A lot of guys who want to do good things and great things. So yeah, it was that was it. And then my latest show was in 2023. I did the Texas Pro.
Texas Pro, yeah. So you've only done only the Texas Pro since obviously turning pro, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Attempted the Arnold Brazil this year. My sponsor is Darkness. They're out of Brazil, at Sao Paulo, and I was going to do the Arnold Brazil. However, a few things came up with my family. We lost a close family member, my cousin. Was really close to me. We were 2 weeks apart in birth, so we grew up together really close. And so I just had to go home on that and take care of that.
Yeah.
I was planning to do the Legions this year, but you know what? Mentally, I needed a bit more of a time to kind of get myself back together after that, and then be there for my family members.
Yeah, of
I'm
course.
the only grandson. I'm the only grandson now, so
Right.
I had to take care of those things.
Yeah.
So we decided to do something beginning of next year and ride that wave all the way through the year. And I plan on
Yeah.
competing more too. Plan on more next year.
Yeah, it's a wise plan. I mean, just touching on it, obviously I don't want to go into too much because I know you've probably
Yeah.
been talking about it and asked about it so many times, with obviously pulling that prep with the bereavement of your cousin. I know at
Mhm.
that time, obviously, because I watch the podcasts and stuff that's going out there, everyone's like saying that you've pulled out the prep or wherever, and no one really knew the reason why. I think there was a lot of stories going out there why you pulled the prep, etc. How did obviously with dealing with what you were dealing with at that time, and all the online experts saying this and that, not really knowing what was
Yeah.
going on, did that affect you, or did you kind of stay away from it all, like watching all the stuff going on?
I say I'm more of an introverted person. I would say I like to keep to myself. I like to keep my personal things to myself. And it's not, frankly, it's not everyone's business to know.
Yeah.
And I, will, reveal things when I feel comfortable with revealing things. I'm blessed that people love to follow me and they want me on stage. But when it comes to certain things, like that, that's a family matter, and that's some things that have to get taken care of before I even have the
Yeah.
mental capacity to speak on it. So I kind of just like I heard some things, but mostly I stayed away from it too. because I just wasn't in the mental space to consume any bodybuilding content. I took a long off of like bodybuilding mentality and all the things that go with preps and supplements and off and stuff. About 8 weeks off of just doing bodybuilding. Still
Right.
went in the gym, but it just went into the love the gym again and
Yeah.
find that passion and find the reason why I got into the gym. When I was a 14-year-old kid. So yeah, to be honest, like I just let that fall off my back, like like duck on a water's feather, like water on a duck's feathers. You know what I mean? Just roll
Yeah.
right off my back. I didn't really care. Yeah, I didn't let it get to me at all. But it just means thing, it means people want to see me on stage. So like it's a good
Yeah.
thing. Like
It's
they want to
because
see me on stage.
people care, innit? People care. So like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
obviously
Sometimes they just have a weird way of going about it.
there's definitely a weird way of going about it. They're selfish. They just want to see it for obviously their own reasons and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I obviously seeing when you obviously told the actual story of why you pulled it, I think everyone kind of sat back and like maybe questioned themselves a little bit and thought maybe perhaps we should like not say things until we know exactly what's going on first before we open our mouths. Which hopefully some people learned their lesson there.
Yeah, probably so, but maybe not.
Yeah,
It's okay though, man. Like,
they'll
yeah,
still
probably
talk shit.
not, but it's all yeah, it's
uh,
all good, man. Like, I like to use that stuff, man, as fuel for the fire. I take that
yeah,
stuff and burn right through it and just use it to motivate me.
I was gonna ask like I've spoke about this on other podcasts as well, like that negative energy, it's fuel to the fire or whatever. Is that something you do as well, like using that towards like obviously pushing you further, kind of drawing on that kind of emotion to kind of in the gym or anything that you're doing in life?
Yeah, I come from a sports background. I played American football,
Yeah.
ran track and field growing. I did a lot of sports. So, having that competitive mindset and, wanting to, like kind of like progress and like, I want to say prove anything to anyone, but, like I come from sports, so people talk ish all the time, right? People talk mess all the time. So
Yeah.
it's always, you want to be like, all right, like I got you. Like, I'm going to shut you up. Like, you know what I mean? Like so I do draw from that, from my background in sports.
Hmm.
Um, but I wouldn't say it's the only thing that motivates me. I have a lot of people around me, and I think like I draw on their energy as well.
Yeah.
But starting off, like when I first started, with sports and stuff, like I always had that competitive mindset of like, all right, like yeah, you eat your own words.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because from watching your content, and as I said earlier, you're quite a humble and genuine guy as you come across. When you're on stage, does that humble and genuine guy stay out backstage in the pump up area, and do you get aggressive on stage with like that competitive nature, or are you quite reserved?
um, Man, backstage, I think for me, when I did the Texas Pro, it was my first pro show, and I got so excited. I had more of I'm just happy to really like make it to the stage because it was a rough and long year.
Hmm.
But and did nationals, I had competed in shows. I was a top amateur at the time. So for me, it was just all business. Like the work is done. I don't mean mug anyone backstage, but I just keep to myself. I lay down, I relax. I don't let my energy get too out of control, and it's just time to do the business. So on stage, I'm not gonna let anybody push me around, throw elbows with me.
That's what I was getting
Don't,
at, bro. That's
yeah,
what I was getting
don't
at.
try none of that. Don't try none of that, man. Like, know, um, we're bodybuilding right now, so don't throw no elbows.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I try to backstage. I keep myself to myself, because I don't want my energy to get too erratic. And then
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that translates to on stage. If you're too overhyped, you might see shaking in your posing, or you might not be breathing properly, and that's how you get exhausted on stage quickly.
Mm.
So yeah, but when it comes to people who want to throw some elbows, or step over the line. Like, nah, son, I'm not backing down. Like,
Yeah. With
nah.
your competitive nature, then you said you played football. How did you get to like a certain level with the American football, or was it just kind of college stuff?
Yeah, just to college. So I played football through my junior year of college,
Yeah.
and that's actually when I hurt my neck. And I got into bodybuilding after that. So I played football from 12, 13 years old to around, I think it was around like 21 years old. And I got into bodybuilding not too long after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that got me into the gym, and that really got me loving the process of seeing like your body changing.
Yeah.
Because I was, I was a small kid. I wasn't always the biggest kid growing
Yeah.
up. So getting into the weight room for football, and seeing my body change, and then I found bodybuilding. I was like, oh shoot, I can progress and get on stage and do all these things. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, why not?
We always hear the stories of like people that played sports, had an injury, and then they like switch lanes to bodybuilding. It always seems to be an injury when there's like another sport involved. There's always an injury that kind of offsets them into bodybuilding, and it ends up being the best thing to happen to you, right? Like with your career and
Yeah,
where you're
yeah.
at.
Yeah, it has, man. Like bodybuilding's afforded me so much to be able to travel around and see and meet new people, and to kind of create this own name and brand for myself. So I don't think I would have probably never had that if I just stuck to football, right?
With
Like,
football. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's like man, that's the elite when it comes to, making it to that top level. And many people don't do that. So
mm,
to make it to be a professional and one that is recognized as, someone who could be very good in this sport. I mean, that's awesome, and a blessing, and I'm grateful for that.
definitely a blessing. How much weight have you put on since transferring from like football, that 21, 22 age? What's kind of been the
Mhm.
weight that you've put on in terms of muscle, like from that time till now?
So going from my first show where I was a middleweight, 174 pounds,
Right.
um, and now, off season, right now I'm around 258. I've been as heavy as like 265 before,
Mm,
but I think this is the best I've looked at this week. Not a lot of fluff on me. So yeah, man, like I've crept up to almost 100 pounds of
yeah.
like just like weight. That's
Wait,
that's
yeah,
that's ridiculous looking at it, because
yeah.
I'm like, man, I used to think I was a pretty big guy, in the locker room. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
pretty one of the bigger guys here. But looking at myself now, it's like, dude, man, you were tiny. You're a small guy. But yeah, so it's been a journey for sure. I never even thought I would get this big, to be honest with you. I thought I'd be like a 212 guy.
Right.
Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And a lot of people thought I'd be 212 too because of my height. But my body, and I guess the way it holds the muscle.
Yeah.
I was able to put on a little bit more.
Just let it grow,
So
man. Just let it
yeah, just
grow.
let it grow, dude. Yeah, get in there,
How
eat and train.
how tall are you?
5'6".
Five,
I
six.
know you guys do use the metric system right over there, so I'm not
Over the pond.
just yeah. So some guys have to do the conversion on that one. But yeah, I'm
Yeah, five,
5'6", so
six.
I'm not quite tall at all. Yeah, I'm pretty short guy.
Yeah.
Comparative to like, my peers who might be like 5'7", 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah, but obviously when you've got that structure you've got with obviously the mass that you're able to put on that frame, on that height, that's a freak, man. Like I said at the start, it's a freaky bodybuilder. Who's coaching you now?
Yeah, so right now I am working with Andrew Vu.
Yeah.
He's out of Texas, and yeah, we've been working together since last year.
It,
Texas Pro.
did he prep you for Texas as well or afterwards? Yeah, prep.
Texas, yeah, yeah. Prepping for we started working for Texas Pro and
Yeah.
continued.
Oh, sick, man. Um, you've got another guy, I think Andrew is obviously your coach, and then you've got another guy you train with, I think. Is he your trainer? Or is it training
Uh,
partner?
Yeah. So he was my trainer. My good friend Kyle Smith. He did all my training for a very long time since 2019. We linked up, and
Yeah.
he did all my training, programming, and everything. We were in the gym together. However, he kind of got out of training and started, working on his own business, working in like the auto industry with his brothers and stuff. So we don't
Okay.
awfully train too much anymore, but he still writes my programming
Yeah.
outside of the gym.
Okay. Right. I didn't realize. Yeah, because I've seen him in some of your videos in the past and stuff, so I knew you were kind of working with someone training wise. But
Yeah.
obviously I guess he's kind of just like your boy now, I guess, isn't it?
Yes, this is my brother, man. Like
Yeah.
we're homies inside of bodybuilding, outside of bodybuilding. Yeah, that'll always be my brother.
Yeah.
And I still take a lot of principles from the people that I've learned, trained with throughout the years. I had the pleasure to train with Oscar Arden. He taught me a lot of things, good things. Kai Green's former trainer.
Yeah.
Working with Patrick Tor, I picked up a lot of SST training principles that I still like to carry forward today, just because I feel like they work well with my physique. And coming up soon, I'll be working with Chris Cormier
Oh, sick.
during my prep. Yeah, doing my prep, doing training and posing. I plan on going out and spending some extended time with him.
Awesome.
So yeah, man, I'm a sponge. I'm a sponge when it comes to this. I want to learn as much as I can from the guys who've been here before, and I mean, I'm never too high on my horse to learn from the people who came before me.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's going to take you far in the game. Those people that are sponge, like I guess, like I'm going to say this out loud, but talking on a completely different level to yourself. But that's kind of like how I've personally progressed over the last 4 or 5 years, being around like Jordan Peters and those guys, just kind of taking up and taking like a sponge all the knowledge. And when I'm filming them, obviously I'm filming them for their content, but I'm also like taking notes in here for when I'm in the gym the next day, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Excuse me, there's construction outside, so I'm sorry if you can hear that.
That's all right.
But yeah, dude, like that's something that um, again back to the culture over there, and I mean, like you guys have great people, like Jordan, like James, like Kuba, I mean, people who are just like some leaders over there who are
Yeah.
really setting that tone, and that's amazing to have, and you get to pick their brain and learn from them, and this is just cycles throughout the community, and everybody gets better,
Yeah.
and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. With you mentioned about like you're taking from the people around you. What's your parents like in terms of the support for your bodybuilding? Is it supportive, or is it like are they letting you kind of crack on and do your thing, or are they like fully in your corner with it?
Oh man, my family is so supportive. My father has been there since day one, since starting bodybuilding. Like when we go to events, if you see me, you're probably going to see, and if you don't see me and you see him, I'm not too far behind. Just because we just love the sport. We go to events. We love just meeting the people, talking, making connections. It's just what we do. We are thoroughly passionate about bodybuilding and what it entails, and the people that love the sport too.
Yeah,
So we're deep in it, and he loves it just as much as me. My mother is great. She loves to see me on stage. She supports son. She's not really into going to all the shows and stuff, but yeah, I got some good people in my corner, and people who love me. And it's always just been amazing. I have a wonderful girlfriend, and she supports me, and yeah, all around, man, I just have a great circle.
yeah.
So I really can't complain.
That's sick, mate. Do you in terms of like life outside of the gym with like work and things like that, are you still, because obviously you're a pro, just for
Hmm.
obviously the people watching and listening to this, do you coach, or have you got like another job? Are you still in full-time employment with that?
Yeah, so I still am in full-time employment with my current position, working for the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Um, so I work remotely. and that has its perks.
Yeah,
Allows
working
me,
from home.
yeah, allows me to do what I need to do.
Yeah,
But I am going to be getting into some coaching soon. I mulled over it for a very long time because I always want to be committed in whatever I do, and
yeah,
I'm sure that give the time to the people who would like to work with me. So I'm in talks with a friend of mine who already has a coaching app and infrastructure already set up. So we're working on it. So we can kind of join forces and put together like a good team, a good roster.
yeah,
So yeah, that's something that I've been interested in. So that'll start probably next year
yeah.
after my prep um, when I begin that. But yeah, I do work full time.
Yeah, see, so for the people out there that, that are working and say they haven't got time to do bodybuilding alongside a full-time job, you're proof that you could be at the top and still holding down a full-time job, a career or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm lucky because I get to work remotely and stuff.
Yeah,
But before I was able to work remotely, I was in office traveling 45 minutes, to an hour both ways to the office,
yeah,
and I was training at you know p.m. night sometimes, maybe sometimes 9 p.m. If things got late. So there was a time where I was doing or going to school for my graduate school, and I was going to graduate classes. Working during the day, training middle of try to train right after work, and then I go straight to my graduate classes, which are 6 to 9 p.m.
yeah.
Yeah, so like it looks a lot differently the landscape now, but it took some time to get here.
Course, man. But you've got to do what you got to do, right? It's like, even though it's
Hell
bodybuilding,
yeah.
I always call it a glorified hobby until you're making real money off the back of it. Whichever avenue you go down, whether it's down the pro league and you're winning money on stage, or whether it's like the coaching, like, which is the lane you're about to step into, that'll be exciting for you though, man. So the plan is to obviously slowly transition into full-time online coaching alongside bodybuilding. Then, yeah.
Yeah. So, right now, I'm fortunate to have some great sponsors, Darkness, Iron Rebel. I mean, I'm grateful to have them, and also, have my full time position. But to be able to have that freedom of coaching would be great because it would allow me to, make some more moves
Yeah.
outside of, full time job as far as like scalable moves and more scalable income,
Yeah.
which would be great. I like where I'm at. I have a great, group of coworkers, and they're very understanding. They know I bodybuild,
Are
so it's really dope.
are any of those guys into bodybuilding or not?
No, not really, not really. They see my Instagram and they keep when I'm like doing things. So I actually they're pretty supportive, but like no one's really into bodybuilding at all. So, but that's fine. But it keeps me grounded too. To have something outside of bodybuilding to think about.
Yeah.
It keeps me a little bit grounded as far as like I'm always prep is bodybuilding is 24/7, 365. If you're doing it correctly, you never really let off the gas pedal. You're just, you're always eating and training and, thinking about like your progress. So
Yeah.
when I'm working and it's just kind of gets my mind off of bodybuilding for a bit. So I do like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, but yeah, touching on the coaching, that would be something to be, a great supplement to getting a little bit more freedom away from the 9 to 5, where I do have to call off for work and use PTO or use vacation days.
Yeah.
Where if, as an online coach, I have a little bit more freedom. Of course, you still have your structure, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah. It'll just open up your days to kind of do what you need to do, and then, like, work until 9, 10, 11 p.m. at night if you have to, with coaching and things like that, or up at 5 or wherever. So it'll definitely
Yep.
work in your favor, man. Obviously a lot of people are doing this. So the one thing I wanted to touch on that was training. Like, what's your train? Like you said that you've picked up a lot of things off a few different guys like Patrick, etc. So what's your kind of training like? Because I'm sure some of the guys watching this will look at you and think, I need to train like him. So what is your style, would you say?
Sure thing. Sorry, just plugging in my
Yeah,
laptop.
go for it.
So as far as my training, it's developed over the years. When I was a bit smaller, like around that middleweight range, I actually did a lot of like supersets and giant sets in a lot of higher volume. Um, and it's just something that I kind of gravitated towards because I was always more of an athlete, and we did a lot of circuit style training, when it came to conditioning work.
Yeah.
So I was more conditioned for that kind of training, so it fit my body type at the time.
Yeah.
The higher rep ranges, giant sets, supersets, just keeping the pace really high and the rep time really low. But as I got heavier, things changed.
I bet,
Things
yeah.
changed. And I was not able to keep up with that as much as I was able to. So I've shifted to more of a lower volume, higher intensity. And this also came with learning how to train and learning how to focus into a set and the proper muscles. I think you kind of have to go through that phase of, I hate to say it like this, but overtraining, because you need to know where you don't know the boundaries unless you push them properly. I've done times where I've done, workouts that lasted 2.5 hours because I was just pushing myself so hard. And looking back in hindsight, that was overtraining, but I wouldn't know that unless I push that boundary, where I'm like, man, like I'm fried for 3-4 days. I'm not recovering. I wouldn't know how my biofeedback would be unless I did that. Like I wouldn't know, what's proper recovery for myself, or if I push myself too far without that time period. So, you kind of have to go through the trial and error, like anything in bodybuilding. Training is just like nutrition. It's just training is just like that. So it's developed to be more of a lower volume, higher intensity. And I do a lot of intensifiers as my secondary set. So I'll do a straight set, something like maybe 8 to 10, 10 to 12, maybe sometimes 12 to 15. And then my second set, I'm usually doing a intensifier, a cluster set, a drop set, a rep pause, something of that nature where I can, hit the heavy weight, but also kind of go a little bit beyond failure. And that's kind of how my training's evolved. It's become a bit more controlled now too. I don't use as much ego lifting as I've done in the past, because I feel like, again, I kind of went through that phase where I lifted the heavy weights. I've squatted heavy, I've benched heavy, I've shoulder pressed heavy, deadlifted heavy, all those things I've done before. But now that I'm able to fully, lock in and recruit the muscles, it's more about, kind of making the weight feel heavier. Can I slow down the eccentric? Can I squeeze more on the concentric? Trying to get more out of the training instead of just moving A to B. So in a nutshell, I guess that's my training. Yeah.
I bet though, even though you're, concentrating on the slowing the reps down and the eccentrics and the concentrics, you're still lifting a decent load though, yeah?
Oh yeah. That comes though. Like I had to build my weights back up, to that. So progressive overload is a real thing. Like you can't just stay the same. Like you have to, try to progress in, rep tempo, some manner of executing the exercise. And also the load that you use has to progress, right? Those are things that you can use to progressively get better within the gym. If it's adding a pause to a certain movement, and that is up everything. So yeah, the load, heavyweight. I used to have this saying, called heavyweight, a lot of reps. Me and my buddy, we used to say that. It's like, what are we doing today? Heavyweight, a lot of reps. It's like, okay, let's just do it. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the mentality that I still try to carry forth.
Yeah.
but it's just with a little bit more intention than I had when I was younger.
Of course.
You know, so
The
that's my training style, I guess. A little bit of
what
everything.
what's your views on, like, obviously because we've talked about it, what's your views on like the newer kids kind of doing the controlled, slower eccentric reps and concentrics, but then having like two pins down
Yeah,
a stack
just
instead of
yeah.
actually
It's
load?
like, dude, I see it and I just turn away. I'm like, you haven't built anything yet. Like you haven't built the foundation to warrant doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you may be lean and you got some abs and some leanness to your back, but I mean, so did I at 155 pounds. Like it's just like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like what are we doing here? So when I see that, I just think that kids need to like go through that trial, like I said, like push the weights, have fun in the gym, see how far the boundaries you can go with reason of your recovery and within of your technique. You don't want to hurt yourself,
Yeah.
but you need to do that. That's the fun part of things. Like
Definitely.
like
Yeah.
that's the fun part. That's the grind. That's like that's where you have fun. That's where you love the gym. That's where you build your passion at.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you just stick to doing these like foo exercises where you just kind of just squeeze and you have a couple of pounds of weight on there and you get out of the gym,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, sure, you felt something, but did you actually make any progress that day? So I think it has a time and a place. Like when you get to a level of such like yourself, myself, where you're, working on details now, like you got size, but you're working on details and you want to start etching out little things here and there. That's when that other stuff can come into play.
Yeah.
But they don't see that, what I mean? That's your second workout and what I mean, like the week, and you're now that's a more squeezing one. But the first chest workout of the week was the one where you had compound lifts and you were doing more, heavy pressing. But like they don't see that, or they don't think
Yeah.
that.
They
It's
just lost,
it's
man.
weird.
They just lost a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's just lost.
You
It's
mentioned overtraining as well. I think, with the deloads and things like that, these deload weeks that everyone's getting, like 8 weeks. Yeah, when you're training at the highest level and as intense as you guys are, then yeah, you do need to take that rest. But these guys aren't actually getting, they're not overtraining. They're not even getting close to that point to take these weeks off or these deload weeks or whatever
yeah,
they're having. So most people don't really know what that is to have that week, or that.
yeah. Like it's a like I didn't know what a deload week was until I was like 4 years deep in this. I'm like, oh, I supposed to back off weights? Like, is that a thing? Like I didn't
Yeah.
know. It comes again with like pushing those boundaries a little bit,
Yeah.
seeing how far you can go. And then you read your feedback and you're like, oh man, I'm like, I don't want to, I'm kind of like not feeling the gym today. Man, I'm kind of sore. And like, I've worked my chest workout was 4 days ago. And my chest is still sore. Like you don't know these things until you push that boundary a little bit and get that biofeedback from yourself of,
Mm,
man, I might have pushed things a little bit too far. And then it's like, maybe I should take a rest day or
yeah.
extra rest day. Because when you like us, your routine is, no, I train on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's my routine. But here comes Thursday, you're beat to all hell. And you're like, well, I still got to train. That's when you're a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and you've been in this game deep enough to where you're able to make that call of like, all right, I'm just going to take a rest day.
Yeah.
But it took me years to get there because I was stubborn. I was like, I don't need, like, I'm gonna stick to my schedule. I'm gonna stick to my routine.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, it's just all about pushing the boundaries when you kind of get out the gate a little bit, seeing how far you can go, and then you learn. It's all a
Yeah.
trial and error, like anything. But if you never do that, then you never know,
Yeah.
and then you're stuck Then you're stuck, sideways on a hammer strength bench press, pressing across your body.
5 years
It's
later,
like
still doing the same
5 years
workout.
later with one plate on there. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's
you
crazy,
know?
bro. It's crazy. Well, I mean, there's enough info out there for these guys to pick up on this. So like take note.
Yes.
you know.
And that's changed, right? Like when we were coming up, like it wasn't like that. Like, you know, I mean, YouTube now is filled with, you know, these, you know, experts, right? And
Yeah.
people who've done, you know, all these other things. So, and Instagram is too, and TikTok and all these other social media outlets. But that was like that when we were coming, right? It was
Yeah.
different. Like you probably had a little bit of magazines, you know, some forums, and that was even before I got in the game, you know. So, you know, like didn't have you know, superstars like, you know, Phil Heath in 2013 putting out a lot of content. He put out content, but he didn't break down like this is chest workout, this is what I'm doing. That didn't start happening until like maybe 2020. You know,
Yeah,
people
yeah,
got stuck inside, and it's just that's a full that's a new resurgence, right? That's not like
yeah,
a thing that's been happening for years. There was no Mike Israetel, you know, Renaissance periodization, or you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there were guys, but you know, the access wasn't there. So more of the story, take you know, take a hold of all the things that are out there, you know,
Yeah.
take what you can use, and if you don't like it, throw away the rest.
Yeah. It should be easier now to make progress than it was back in the day. It should be, because there's so
It
much
should be.
information.
Yeah, like I said, like you guys got great guys over there, you know, like they're putting out awesome content.
Yeah.
You know, like find someone you vibe with, try it out. If it don't work, try something else. So yeah, dude, like I honestly I think that at this point in time, and I'm going on a bit of a rant about it, but like
Sorry, man.
it's just like the training and the nutrition and bodybuilding in and of itself has just become a like there's an easier access. Like the barrier to entry has become almost nothing. Like you can figure it out and you know and make it happen.
Mm.
And you can progress you know, if you want it bad enough, of course.
That's the bit. They don't want it bad enough, bro. They want it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like people, and you asked me earlier, like, you know, like you know, how much weight I put on from one time to another. You know, I mean, that wasn't easy putting that weight on, you know, like getting that size. Like, you know
Yeah.
how it is. Like, you're a taller dude, man. It's not easy filling out your frame.
No, no.
It's you got to eat food, you got to be consistent. You know what I mean? Like, you can, man, and I'm going on another rant. I see physiques today that I had when I was 16. See physiques today that are getting praised that I had when I was 16 years old. I'm like, you got abs and some biceps. I had that at 16, brother. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know, like, so it's a different time, different era, man. And I just sound the old guy who says, "Get off my lawn now."
Yeah. How old are you actually? I haven't asked you that.
I'm 32.
32, yeah. So yeah, you're the old guy on the lawn.
Yeah, man, I am now, but that's
Yeah.
okay. I look young.
Yeah. What I've got this question that I've started asking on the podcast, so I want to ask you it as
Yeah.
well. And you're going to be fully aware of this because I asked some guys before and they didn't know what this meant, but you're going to know. So Mount Rushmore, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't want the Mount Rushmore bodybuilding in terms of like the big names, but what is like your Mount Rushmore, you know, for you personally, like the key people that have been around you in the game
Hmm.
growing up, who would you put on your Mount Rushmore?
Oh, man. Um, when I started this, you know, I picked up a muscular development magazine, and Phil Heath had just won his third title in 2013, and
Yeah.
he was doing a side chest, and I saw that hamstring hanging, and I this is ridiculous, you know. And I just looked, I just saw it, and I was like, man, like I just got into bodybuilding, and I was like, you know what, like that's what like I want to look like that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want because that to me that was like one of the perfect physique, one of the most perfect physiques I've ever seen. So I would say Phil Heath.
Yeah.
Um, and then from the mental aspect of it, um, and I really enjoyed Kai Green's philosophical. You know, some people say he talked a lot, and he did. He had a tendency to pontificate. He did, but if you locked in, he had some really good things to say. You know, things like thoughts become things. Like it sounds
Yeah.
a simple saying, but you know, what I mean, for you know, 21-year-old kid, you know, what I mean, who just hurt his neck, you know, like, and I play football more, like, and I was so passionate about that, and I was lost, like that to me clicked to me.
Right.
So and I needed that at the time. So I would say Kai Green.
Yeah.
And man, now here's where it gets more of like, the people that I enjoyed when I was um, actually started looking into the history of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I would say Kevin Levrone
Yeah.
is one of the people that coming up, I saw their physique and I was like, that's a perfect physique.
Hmm.
1992 Helsinki, the Olympia right there. He came second place to Dorian Yates. To me, is one of the most perfect physiques I've ever seen in my life. So uh, I would say, yeah, I would say that it's those three, and then if I
Would
was to say a fourth, um,
would there be one
sorry,
like on a much lower scale? You know, like someone even like local to you that when you grew up that inspired you, or someone that was like in the
Mhm.
gym, like one of the older guys in the gym that was kind of doing their thing and you kind of looked up to? Anyone local on like a much lower level than the big names?
You know what, man? I come from like it's not much bodybuilding going on around Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. So there wasn't many people
Yeah.
that I gravitated towards like on that type of level. I would say that from a local level, um, there was there was my first coach, Fred D. Smalls.
Yeah.
Um, you know, seeing him, have his bodybuilding career and his coaching career going on. That was definitely like that was my entry to bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And seeing what a pro bodybuilder is. So he was one of like probably like the only pros that I knew personally at the time. So I would say him. Um, and then uh, as I got deeper into the sport, and I was still a little bit relatively unknown, um, I would say that working with guys like Oscar Arden,
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a bodybuilder, a coach, and the way he approached, the mental aspect of bodybuilding, everything that you've seen in the videos with Kai, that's a thing. He's the real deal. Like he
Mm.
approaches the mental aspect of bodybuilding, to the T. And at that time, again, that's like something that I needed.
Yeah.
So he may not be like a professional bodybuilder, but on a local level, and the people I've worked with, yeah, he definitely clicked with me.
Yeah, that's sick, man. Yeah, I always like to ask that question because you never know. Like, obviously, we've got you mentioned like Phil and that, which obviously one of the
Hmm.
greats. But then it's always like interesting
Hmm.
to find out on a personal level, kind of who you looked up to, or who you gravitated towards. So that's pretty cool, man. So just as because I don't want to take too much more of your time, we're gonna wrap this up in a sec because I know you've got a
No
meal to
problem.
eat, standard bodybuilding, same
Yeah,
here.
you know.
So with the plans for next year, obviously you're looking to go with the Detroit Pro, and then if you take the W, are you wrapping up prep and then obviously go into the O, like just gonna take that time for the O, or are you gonna try and pin a couple of shows together in that period?
Yeah, from the Detroit Pro, there is a few, like maybe about like a little over um, 2 months to the New York Pro.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So
May that is, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, so about like maybe like 2 months to the New York Pro. And depending on how my body reacts, and the way we approach it, I would
Yeah.
love to do the New York Pro. It is technically like a hometown show for me, being from the East Coast,
Yeah.
the Northeast, and of that area right there. And Big Steve has always been super supportive of me ever since I was a middleweight. He's seen me grow throughout the sport, and I've always wanted to do a show, and things just didn't turn out right the first prep for it. So that would be, one of the biggest, most meaningful shows to me would
Yeah.
be that one. Because ever since I started the sport, I have probably only missed one New York Pro. I've been to all of them except for
Okay.
one. So
Yeah.
it's like I said earlier, it's something that my dad and I do. We love it. And yeah, that would probably be a show that I would do. Um, just because again, like it's a prestigious show.
Yeah.
It's a great show. Steve and everyone else, holds it, they very well. But sentimentally, it means a lot to me too. So that probably
Yeah.
one of the shows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be a cool show to win, man. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
King of New York, man. You got that title, King of New York, will be it's
King of
gonna
New
be amazing.
York, bro. Yeah, that's quality, bro. Right. So I guess we'll wrap that up. But before we do, did you want to say any thank yous to anyone, sponsors or anyone like that before we call it off?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First of all, I want to thank you, bro, for having me on. It's
Appreciate it, man.
been such an amazing experience, and like I said, seeing your prep and the way that you approach bodybuilding and the way you approach your work and the things you do for the sport is just amazing. And I look forward to seeing you continue doing what you do. And for as far as sponsors, shout out to Darkness. They are a title sponsor for the Olympia Darkness into a Medica. I will be at the booth. I don't know when this is coming out, but I'll be at the booth at Olympia during the time during the expo.
Yeah.
So please come check us out, say hi. And big shout out to Iron Rebel, my clothing and power gear sponsor. They keep me dressed to impress, and they keep me safe as well when I'm in the gym. So yeah. That's all. Shout out to my sponsor, my newest sponsor who I just signed with, Chicken Pound.
Oh, go on.
They supply all my my chicken. You know how important that is for a bodybuilder.
That-
And yeah, Code Carlos for all those. And I'm done.
There we go.
Thank you.
That's the most important sponsor, bro. The chicken, the one that providing the
Yeah,
chicken. Because
all
if
my
you got no
chicken, man.
chicken, you got no clothing, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the most important one. Should have
Yeah.
led with that.
Uh, I
Yeah, bro.
appreciate it,
Thank you
man.
so much, man.
Honestly, like, thank you. I know you're busy, and like I said, you may not seem or feel like you're a big guy in the industry, but you definitely are, man, and you're one to watch. So everyone look
Thank you.
out. But I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your words on all my stuff as well. Goes a long way, man.
Yes, of course.
And check Carlos out on Instagram. It's Carlos Thomas JR with underscores in between, yeah.
It's just Carlos Thomas Jr. underscore. You should be just typing my name, and it's really simple.
Yeah, just type it in.
And the same same thing on YouTube. We'll be coming up with the content in the prep
Yeah,
and everything in between. So just search me out, look me up, and yeah, if you need anything, don't be afraid to DM me.
there we go.
I get back to
Getting
you.
from the man himself. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you follow Carlos on his prep next year. It's going to be exciting. And look out for the next episode. Like, comment, subscribe, and I shall see you on the next one. Peace.